The following broadcast may contain explicit language and adult themes. Viewer discretion is advised. The opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the hosts, talent, and guests, and do not reflect the opinions, views, and standards of Pyromedia Enterprises, affiliates, subsidiaries, or its members.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, because you could be watching this at any time of the day. It is your 2/3 of Helping Him duo, Ryan D. and
I'm 11.
Okay, come on, 11. Welcome to the Helping Him show. We are here every Tuesday, 4:30 to 5:30, except last week because I was celebrating my birthday and I am back. So welcome back to me.
Yeah, baby.
Okay. Today we're going to get into some things.
Some serious
And it's going to be, it is. And it's actually our guest today is the one who recommended this. So I wanted them to be on the show and, get their point. Now I got a little, new setup here for y'all. I don't know how y'all feel about it. I don't know how I feel about it. The camera might be crooked because we gotta look at ourselves over here, but then the camera's here, so we gotta look at y'all here. But it's okay. I'm gonna peep every now and again. I want to see y'all gonna notice. I'm trying to be different, it's a new year, trying to do things, live life. But nevertheless, we want to thank Pyromedia for producing us so beautifully. APLA Health for giving us the jobs we have, and CDC for bringing the money, okay? Because we would not have the show, nor would we have this program, nor would we have another program, nor would we have the money that we have that we're coming up on this third year on. Because y'all, we just got I'm not going to tell y'all how much money we got, but it don't matter. Just know we got money, okay? And I'm excited about it.
They're going to come over here asking for it.
Exactly.
They ain't got no money.
I'm just happy we got money.
It's us
and
Jesus.
That's period. But how you feeling today, Carl?
I'm feeling pretty good. I was just talking before we went on. I need a vacation. Yeah. I am definitely feeling a little depleted as we head into the summer season. I know Pride is about to be bananas, and I might just the third weekend in June just go off the radar and just recoup. But that's how I'm feeling. How you feeling?
I feel good actually. I had a good birthday trip. Been enjoying my birthday weekend. It was good. It was ultimately a good thing. I think the same thing though. I want another vacation. Seattle was real. I went to Seattle and it was real white. And it was it was fun. I had a really good time.
A real white time.
But it was just I was living my white fantasy. I was oh my God, white girl. Oh my God. But
okay.
Yeah, it was cute. It was cute, nevertheless. But I think we do need to recharge. If you see us at Pride, we have 7 Prides coming up from now until August. So if you see us, say hi. We have DCLA Pride. We have WeHo Pride, LA Pride.
That's a lot of prides.
Long Beach.
But it's actually really important that we celebrate Pride this year.
Exactly.
We see all of the legislation that is targeted towards the queer community taking up space and showing why we are proud and all the things that we fought for.
Well,
it's cute, but for the service providers and the people that work in the field, it can be a lot.
It is a lot. But let's get into what we do out here. So, breakdown every time we do this, it's like a broken record, y'all. Okay, Healthy Him checklist. We have STI testing and HIV testing. Okay, that is $50. If you're coming from monkeypox, that's an additional $50. That is $100 total, simply put. If you recommend people, you get $10 each person. Okay,
Word.
So if you recommend 10 people, that's automatically $100 just for you recommending people. And then you do a checklist, that's $200 right there.
Work, simple math.
Exactly. So just like that, boom. If you want to know your status in the comfort of your own home, Suave and Chill, you can come to us. Well, now Networks has their own, I guess. But for those who identify...
So you can't do shade on the podcast. You can't do that.
No, it's part of it. Just being me. Hi. Me and Dwayne did this all the time.
We're all an out here family. We are out here family to get your test in whatever metric or medium works for you.
Exactly. But don't forget
leave it at that.
Don't forget who did it first.
Leave it at that.
Different
here. Strokes for different folks. There's different demographic requirements.
This is true.
Alrighty, moving right along. On Mondays from 7 to 9, we have POV Runway Boot Camp.
Yes.
Currently, our instructors are Tunde, Juicy Couture, Tishi, and Byron Juicy Couture, Miyaki Mugler. We might have some other additional instructors coming in for the summer or subbing out or doing some master classes. Keep your eyes tuned in for that. Tuesdays, we have our hip hop class that is taught by former Healthy Him co-host Dwayne Savid. So you can come check that out. That's from 7 to 9
tonight
as well. Again, that's tonight. On Thursdays, we have BQT, Black Queer Talks from 7 to 9 at the Out Here Center. What's the topic for this week?
This week, we are having some leather organization come in and teach us, about some, flogging and being tied up and, having safe and kinky fun. Very
so the
much
freaks
so
are coming out on Thursday night.
Yes,
Word.
very S&M,
Word freaks.
Lucky not. It's gonna be good. So if y'all want to experience that and get, flogged or experience or flog somebody,
Ooh, shit.
come out.
Can I say
We're
shit?
here.
Ooh.
Yeah, you can.
Ooh, shit.
So yes, we'll be doing that this week, and then also wanted to mention linkage to care for our positive individuals. We are working on Thrive for our Black MSM, but if you are an individual who is positive, do not have not in care. Actively, yes, in care, and you need to be in care, contact us. Specifically,
we're here to help.
Okay,
we're here to help. I'm here to help. Make sure that you get linked back in.
Yes.
I think that's all of our announcements.
Yes, that is all of our announcements.
Oh, Fourth Friday is going to be June 30th, apparently.
Yeah, so we're doing that. That is the last day of my supervisor's time here. He's 13 years here.
Oh, Dante.
Yes.
We love you, Dante.
So he will
the
be
progenitor of helping him.
Okay, literally. He will be leaving us, and we're going to do something that day. I think we might actually be at a conference, but we'll still celebrate him to some degree. We're trying to figure out.
Jesus.
But yeah, we'll let you guys know if you want to come. But regardless, it's going to be open, outside, cookout, grill, testing, all the whole woo, 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 woo. Okay, period. Without further ado, let's get into today's topic.
Ooh.
Boom. Oh, why it sound like that? Somebody that messed with my bell. Look,
Ring my bell.
America has a problem.
That's copyrighted. You can't do too much.
Why?
That's copyrighted.
You can't.
Beyonce will take your video down.
You think so?
I know so.
Oh my gosh. She hates us that much.
No, she just wants her coin first.
I feel that. Okay, now I'm kind of upset that my bell not working, y'all. I don't know how I feel about that.
All right, so the topic, America has a problem. You ever hear queer lingo from others and wonder how they learn that? Has a white counterpart stereotyped you because you are visibly queer? America has fetishized queer things from ballroom, vogue, slang, and more long enough. Let's talk about it.
Yes.
That actually just reminded me of this scenario a couple of years ago where I had a white colleague text me a black person's emoji, and it made me feel very uncomfortable. Like, it very much gave, I'm down, and I was just like, oh, should I go to HR? Because this feels like a microaggression.
I'm screaming.
I ultimately paid it.
I think the opposite as well. Like, I don't like that, but I don't like when, like, a black person uses white emojis, no shade. I'd be like, girl, change that color. Why are you doing that?
See, I don't necessarily agree with that.
Really?
I mean, it's the standard. So you actually have to go
but
in your
we
phone.
have the chance to change it once
Yeah,
you want
but
to. I'm happy when I get to go.
No, because here's the difference. Because there's one is like the standard that the phone comes in. Your phone doesn't take into consideration your color when you buy it.
That's true.
But for a white person to deliberately go and change the coloration of their emoji to send it to a black person, I think is ridiculous.
That's true. Well, I feel about these flyers, y'all. We got new posters. So this is our first poster for BQT.
It looks the same.
We're gonna put it, but we finally got posters actually put up. Child.
Oh, okay, word.
We didn't have posters before.
Word.
So now we're gonna put them up and out here. So when you see it, you'll actually see, the checklist and everything, the whole breakdown.
Work poster.
Right. And I chose this. I chose these men. They look like our demographic. They are demographic, but they're handsome. But anyway.
Word.
Let's welcome our guest. He's coming from another viewpoint. Can we welcome in our guest, please, Kwame? I want to do the bell. And we have just want to talk about, first off, how Kwame added that picture so quick because I just sent that to him. Okay. It does.
The Lord works in mysterious ways.
Hello, Valentino.
Hello, how are you guys?
We're good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, just finishing up a few classes. I appreciate you guys for having me on your platform today.
Oh, come on, platform. Yes, use the big words. Okay, he's in school. Do you want to shout out your school or no?
No.
Okay, period.
Shout out to the performing arts colleges, though. We have it bad.
Well, first off, we're gonna start off with obviously in Valentino. What are your pronouns?
Pronouns are he, him, his.
Okay, period. Now today, as I said in the beginning, you came up with this topic, and I was like, why don't I have you on the show to talk about it? So we talk about queer lingo being taken from quote unquote others and other things like ballroom culture and everything else, slang, et cetera, et cetera. How do you feel about it? What's your viewpoints?
Honestly, it took me a moment to really differentiate people who actually accept us and those people that want to just take things and like twist them and gain like fame or the likeness of the world from it. An example I have of that is if you guys watch Nick Cannon's show Wild 'N Out, they have this thing called I believe it's called like Vogue That Ass Up or something like that, of that nature. And they have different Vogue categories. And I'm really not too fond of that because I feel like they misinterpret and misrepresent them. And I feel like it's becoming a thing of where like people think that it's cool to do rather than actually understanding the culture. And I feel like they try to put their own twist on them rather than introducing to the world the actual origin of ballroom and what it means to people who actually take it serious like us. And then other things like lingo, I feel like now like things like that are just cool, like especially with social media, especially TikTok. You have like a lot of creators that use a lot of lingo, or like just in everyday conversation, like I start to notice people who aren't a part of the LGBT community use slang, and sometimes you kind of it makes you feel like you're being included or considered. But like at times I kind of feel like it's a slap in the face because they don't fully understand why we use terms like that or why we created our own culture, being that we weren't always accepted. And so finding out the people that actually accept us, or where those people that are actually, kind of use it backhandedly, is kind of hard to differentiate those things. And I know in the Dominican Republic, they have like there's an issue there as to where like people would be in your face. Well, I can't even just say in the Dominican Republic, in the world, they would, people in your face, they would accept you, or like they would do like different queer, like lingo, gestures, things of that nature to kind of mock you. And they may say like, oh, like we're just learning or we're becoming more accepted. But even though we are, I feel like there's still that little percentage of people that think it's cool, or they just do it for the attention of others.
I feel that. You want to say?
Yeah, I feel like there's so many directions we can take this conversation.
Yeah.
Not specifically. I would say in the last like 30 or 40 years, there has been this war within American culture, specifically between Black urban culture and Black queer culture. And it is fed all of American culture.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot really dissect American culture or pop culture without acknowledging the intersections of Black urban life and Black queer life. The thing that you kind of have to like always put into the conversation, I think, when like talking about these things, you have to have a level of nuance and grace and understanding intention, right? So I'm gonna give you two examples where I think one is a bastardization of ballroom culture and one is an appreciation of ballroom culture. Um, RuPaul's Drag Race is a show that I have loved since I was in middle school. I've seen every single season at least twice, including All Stars. As I've come more into ballroom and am a founding member in the chapter of my house, I recently just joined the Kiki house, making my debut. It's like predominantly the majority of my work that I do, even with out here, is catered and specific to the ballroom community. So it's a community that I really, really love, that I'm really sensitive to, that I use my platform, my skill sets that I acquired prior to ballroom and taking into that space to better and leave it better than I found it. I have definitely noticed a trend of using buzzwords and elements of ballroom and stripping away the essence and the soul that makes it ballroom to make it palatable and consumable for general white audiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it does a disservice to not only the franchise of Drag Race, which has one of the biggest platforms in the world right now, and ballroom, because when you do that, when you have guests or non-people of color come in to speak to ballroom spaces to think that they're experts and they know about the culture that they have seen like fragments of in Drag Race. And I think it's a disservice because Drag Race is a huge platform and could have easily included more real holistic elements of ballroom into the competition. Wholeheartedly. I mean, Mariah Balenciaga, which is, I believe, a legend or icon within our scene, appeared on season 3 of the show and never really had another openly ballroom contestant appear on the show or acknowledge or had any prolific person from Jack, Gorgeous Gucci, Leomi, Deshaun Wesley, Billy Ninja. Like, there are tons of people that they could have had on for a challenge or a mini challenge, maxi challenge, whatever, have never utilized them, but continue to incorporate more and more elements of ballroom culture into the show. From the Reading is Fundamental challenge, this past season there was a contestant who did a lot of nogging, like vogue movements with none of the soul and none of the poise of a traditional ballroom dancer. And there was a whole vogue challenge that it doesn't give credit to the community, but it also doesn't show the hard work that goes into making this community, making this culture so prolific. On the other hand, you have someone like Beyonce, who has always been an ally of the queer community, like her entire career, has often lifted and I feel like personify all the many different facets of Black culture. I think when you really dissect Beyonce's work, she has been like a vessel for Black culture, taking it in specific eras from the 1990s up until now and reflected culture back to itself, if you really think about it. I think she did a very masterful job at saluting ballroom culture and saying I love you to the Black queer community that really is the backbone of her fan base, and in moving into taking this album that was really prolific and like a love letter to the queer community. She actually went out and sought after ballroom performers to incorporate into her tour and allowed them to be the experts when dealing with the movements that come from ballroom. I think that is how you differentiate between appropriation and appreciation. Appreciation is always going to cite its source. It's always going to say, hey, I didn't invent this. This is something that I'm just a fan of, and these are the people that you should look to if you want experts. And appropriation sells it off as if it is something that they themselves created or have a license to do it with it whatever they want.
That's good. I agree, but I'm gonna have to counterpart. I'm gonna counteract. That whole situation because I feel like when I first heard Renaissance, I was very I was so upset.
Really?
I was so upset because I was just like, I only like 3 songs out of the whole album. I was like, why does everybody keep using the Black queer community? Because it came right after Drake did his little version of House and everything. And I was just like, that come from Black gay community.
I'm actually gonna pause you there.
Mm-hmm.
House music is a Black medium that was started in Detroit, Michigan.
It was, but it came from Black queer individuals.
Yeah, but there's no take Drake out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
Beyonce had ballroom icons and legends on the album from jump.
Yeah, that was. I'm getting to that.
Okay,
I'm about to say, let me finish.
Because I'm a part of the Beyonce.
I get it. So for me, it was like I felt away, and I was just like, I think this is her worst album ever. I didn't appreciate it. I was over it. I was like, why is everybody using the community? And I think it's
stop the camera.
I was like, because Beyonce, she's gonna get away with it, and I was just so upset. But honestly, once I actually re-listened to the album, I only listened to it one time through, and I was just like, I'm over it. But once I listened to it, and I kept listening to it, and kept hearing it, and then I was like, wait, TS Madison over here? Oh, come on, Grace Jones.
The song
I was just like,
Cozy is actually inspired directly from a video that T.S. Madison did about the intersection of being Black and queer in 2020.
Mm-hmm. I looked that up. I actually heard about that. And then her shout out that she did for the Black queer community when she was just saying the colors of the flag, the intersex flag. I like that. Cozy was my first favorite song anyway. But after that, I was like, okay, I give her credit. And now seeing her have Honey on tour with her and Carlos and everybody else, it's like, okay, I get it. It makes sense. I think what Drake did was not okay because he kind of used the house and tried to make it seem like, okay, I'm gonna get to the Black queer community. Because I feel like a lot of people realize the Black queer community is where it's at. That's where all the money is because we're funding all of these things. So I think if y'all can't get to us, it's not gonna happen. And I think the fact that they couldn't, they was like, okay, well, we have to figure out a way to get to them. And I think Beyonce is fucking Beyonce. Obviously.
As an art, I'm gonna get back to you, but I think as an artist with such a monumental platform, you have to appreciate the earnestness. And prior to this, Beyonce has never been known for exploiting the queer community. Ever.
Exactly, right.
She is always poured into the queer community, has supported the queer community, has taken up for the queer community. That's why a couple of years ago, her and Jay-Z both got GLAAD Media Awards for their contributions to queer media and supporting queer media. I will say, we still do live in a time where it is not necessarily financially solvent to bet on the queer community or supporting or celebrating. I mean, let's look at Target that just lost $9 billion for just selling tucking underwear for children. So it's not a for sure thing. So for an artist whose platform is big as Beyonce's to dedicate 4 years of her life to produce an album that celebrates a community that has given so much to culture for the last 40 years. We have to say yes, thank you, Beyonce. And then turn around and have Carlos Basquiat choreograph the Vogue movement from the tour and bring on some of the most prolific soft and cut and Vogue people from our community. I think you have to see it for appreciation. And I think if, as a community, and I'm going to let you go, Valentino, we can't shift culture forward and allow our artistry and our creativity and our talents be seen if we over police it and don't allow some of it to be public consumption. Because at the end of the day, if our communities don't monetize our work, there are always going to be white people that are going to take it from us. When it comes to monetization and it comes to utilizing our platforms and our gifts, we have to be educated on how to do it so that it can be done, so that we can have more control and say so over how it influences culture and what we're willing to get off and how the dollars and revenue that's generated can pour back into our community, into our scene. Because really, for all of the money that ballroom has generated for major corporations, and we can just go through the fashion houses that are named after houses in ballroom. Every ball should be free.
That part, but it's not.
So I'm saying there's things that we can do to recoup that money and things that we can put in place, but it takes leadership, it takes tutelage. But I think if we're overly sensitive and say nobody can touch ballroom, nobody can touch queer stuff, then we're gonna go back in the underground and no one's gonna pay attention.
That's true. I think. Okay, go ahead. Right. Yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
So I do agree with you, but I feel like
specifically.
I'm sorry.
Who are you agreeing with?
Oh, you.
Okay.
So I feel as though there I feel like it's a time and place kind of thing. So when you think about like the biggest icons that we have today, let's say in like the music industry, you got Beyonce, you have Lady Gaga, Madonna, Nicki Minaj, all of their major fan bases are queer people. So I feel as though when it comes to the representation of us, when you actually sit and you study our culture rather than just throwing in terms like I stated before, like with the wilding out and the vogue, that ass up, we can see how genuine it is. So like people that make ballroom, because ballroom, of course, it's become a bigger thing. Like everyone knows that, everyone that is supposed to know and everyone that actually pays attention to ballroom knows that it was started by queer people, specifically queer trans people. I'm sorry.
These people are pivotal. I don't know if y'all can't see it because of the ring light. It's okay.
But started by queer trans people. So I feel as though when being that ballroom has become something that is starting to become of public consumption, making that just a queer like activity kind of does like shut off the rest of the world from understanding fully like what ballroom is or like what different queer activities are. But at the same time, I wouldn't really say it's a thing of gatekeeping. I would say that we're more so protecting a culture from people who wouldn't do it, any good. Like we can relate that to being Black in general. You have people of other races, let's say white people, we have white people using some of the slang that we use as Black people. But we can't really say like at times it's all like it's only misrepresentation when someone of that community calls it as misrepresentation, or if somebody who is deeply invested in that, activity doesn't see it as the way that it's supposed to be, even though activities evolve, over time as the intake becomes, wider. People think that it's cool now. So of course they're going to start to incorporate that into everything that they do, like i.e. the music. I feel like we just really have to sit and think about what aspects that, we see that they actually take time to sit back and study. Because let's go to like TV. When you watch TV, majority of shows or like movies that you see that have queer storylines are written by straight people. And that's why they always come back as like a slap in the face or misrepresentation, because when you have a queer person in like a movie or a TV show, that's their entire personality trait. Like you really don't see anything behind the fact that they're queer. So I feel like when it comes to things like that, making us being queer or this being a queer thing the only thing about it, that's when that, that's where we kind of draw the line between us and
something.
Yes.
I think what you're kind of alluding to or speaking to, the reason why the conversation about appropriation versus appreciation is so important to the zeitgeist because of the limited representation that Black and queer people have as an intersection or individually. Queer people just on their own, Black people just on their own, but it's specifically when you have a character or a space or a culture that inhabits that intersection, the representation that is available is very limited. So of course communities would be very protective of it. I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with gatekeeping. I think that when what I'm about to say does not reflect the thoughts, ideas of Out Here or APLA. They're my own thoughts.
Oh, damn sure. Yes.
When you allow white people to be white people, they're going to take everything. They have a colonization mentality about everything. So there has to be people in leadership in place to say, this space was curated and cultivated for our community, to center our community. This is not a space where we are willing to allow you to push us out and gentrify. We're not going to gentrify ballroom. That's not what this is for, right? But you still, if the intention, because, you know, Crystal LaBeja's, when she started ballroom or started the first house in ballroom, it wasn't, oh, this is a space for just Black girls. It was, we're going to go to commercial and then we'll come right back.
Yeah, we'll be right back. We got thoughts.
Are you in need of a quick and easy way to know your HIV status? Swab and Chill is a discreet way to learn your status in the comfort of your own home. The process gives you results in 20 minutes. Swab the upper gums, swab the lower gums, and voila! Simply follow the colorful step-by-step instructions located inside the kit. Or call APLA and we can assist you virtually. In addition, all kits include condoms and lube for that penetrative fun. For our trans clients, we have Swab and Chill Plus, a customizable kit for trans-specific needs. And we haven't forgotten about COVID either. All kits include personal protection gear, like face masks, comfortable yet stylish. A personal touch tool for dealing with those germ-infested handles and ATM keypads. Wet wipes for those little messes that need cleaning up. Also, keep that summer body protected with Swab and Chill sunscreen. And don't forget about our fanny packs for those quick trips to the store. All this can be yours. Simply call Swab and Chill at 323-329-9713 or email us at swabandchill@apla.org. We would love for you to be part of our Swab and Chill family.
Come swab and chill with us!
And we're back.
Okay, we is back. No.
No, I was just speaking to gatekeeping. I think in certain instances is important. It needs to be democratic. It can't be a dictatorship. There needs to be vetted people who are responsible for. Like, I personally was just talking about this with a group of my extended family in Ballroom, that I wish that there was like a governing board that you had to submit an application to start a house. Like, I really wish that there was like more oversight and more thought that went into how houses and how people operate in Ballroom, because there's nothing to stop a group of white supremacists from coming into Ballroom and starting the house of white and competing as an all-white house or the house of ivory. Like, there's nothing there that will prevent like bad actors from infiltrating the space, because we have not done enough to protect ourselves from such instances. But yeah, I think the fetishization of Black ideas and creativity and intellectual property is something that Western culture, white culture, pop culture, will never fully own up to. I mean, it goes pretty deep if we want to get technical about it. I mean, even during the age of exploration, where the European powers were carving up Africa and starting all of these colonies, they would call us animals, but then put our artwork in museums and take our art and hang it up. So they saw the value in it, but they didn't want us to see the value in us. Mm-hmm. So it's nothing for them to take our intellectual property, take our culture, and bastardize it and clean it up. Like, I don't know if y'all remember, I think it was a year or two ago, it went viral with, I think it was an advertisement at a salon, like somewhere in Europe. And it had a picture of Kim Kardashian with cornrows, and the advertisement said boxer braids with a picture of Kim Kardashian, like this was something new that was created. Like, Black people haven't been doing cornrows for 400 years.
Mm-hmm. It's had so many subcategories that we can go on for days, but we only have
we might have to do a part 2.
Yeah, we have only a certain amount of time. But I do want to ask, I think off the basis of what you were just saying, you feel like it's historical, not hereditary.
Do I think that being a culture vulture is hereditary? No, I think it's a learned behavior.
Even fetishization?
I think the fetishization of queer, Black content or intellectual properties is something that is historical. Mm-hmm. It is. That's. I mean, if you really want to get technical about it, Black ideas make the world go round.
Yeah.
Like, we wouldn't have a stoplight if it wasn't for a Black man. We would have never got to the moon if it wasn't for a Black woman doing the calculations by hand. Black people and intellectual property makes the world go round. They just don't. You really can't put a price tag on Black, like, ingenuity. Mm-hmm. So the only way that they're really able to afford it is to steal it.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
So it's been done for the past 500 years. I mean, I would recommend everybody go watch the 1619 Project and then follow up and read the book. It really breaks down really eloquently how much the diaspora has been robbed, like in many different categories. But if we just stick to the intellectual property, if we stick to the content, I mean, it happens all the time. Like, it literally has been happening. Like, half of Elvis's catalog was by Black people. Mm-hmm. Like, stolen songs, stolen ideas, stolen identity. And I would argue that Elvis Presley is to Justin Timberlake, is to Adele. Like, you take the rhythm without the blues, you put a white person in it, and they take off. But artists who can sing, those artists under the table who have skins that look like mine, don't ever reach the same zenith.
That's fair. That's true. We were talking about during the commercial break, and Valentino, you can chime in on this if you want to. I think something that we talked about recently is how white individuals in the, whether it be straight community or gay community, the gay community being white, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm trade. Like, and it's like, but those are our terms. That
you know what it means.
They don't, but they, like you said, you don't think a white person can call themselves a butch queen.
Yeah, I don't think white people can be butch queens. I think there's folks.
That's fair as well. And then I think even with ballroom, when we come into that aspect of life, I personally, I'm gonna stand on this, whether you want to, whatever. I will not put this as a healthy him thought, an out here thought, because we are well indulged and engulfed and in love with the ballroom community. But I do not believe white people should be in ballroom. And I stand on that. I know that they are heavily a part of ballroom. I know that they are very active. I know some of them are kind as fuck, but
Russian chapters.
They are. But look, I stand on what I say. I say what I say. Seeing them,
I'm not gonna necessarily say that anybody should not be in a space, because that's racism, that's prejudice. And I know Black people can't be racist, but we can't be prejudiced.
Yes, correct.
I think that leadership opportunities should be limited, and if ever presented, need to be fully vetted to the umpteenth degree.
That's true. That's true.
There are people who've come along in ballroom spaces who have happened to be white that have respectfully known their place as advocates.
Sometimes.
I'm going to speak on the examples I can speak of.
Okay, that's true.
And have added culture and have, been a torchbearer for our community.
Mm-hmm.
Founding mother Tracy Gorgeous Gucci is one of them. She is a transgendered white woman who is a major figure in ballroom, and I'm not going to take her accomplishments away or say she shouldn't be there, because she's been in the scene. She's a legend or an icon.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have legendary Dolores, who is one of the most sweetest, approachable, nurturing spirits we have on the West Coast. And I couldn't fathom the West Coast scene without a Dolores being one of the legends to move the scene forward. There are other people that I question intentions, that I question legitimacy, that I question character. I'll leave those names off. But ballroom is for everybody. But within that, I mean, anybody can drive a car, but you have to have a license to operate a vehicle under whatever local government jurisdiction you fall under.
That's true.
So is it for everybody? In theory, yes, but there has to be a vetting process so that we can make sure that you're here because you appreciate the culture and not that you want to appropriate the culture and take the rhythm and leave out the blues. Like, if we want to go, we can really go there, and I'm going to toss it back to Valentino, but we also have to understand, because there's a duality to reality, that the instances in which ballroom has gotten major media coverage has always been exploitative experience for the scene. Like, if we, like, a lot of people don't know this, but like Paris is Burning is like ballroom Bible today.
Mm-hmm.
But for these people that were in this film, it was actually a very tumultuous and traumatic experience for them to have their lives and their stories captured and bastardized by a cisgendered heterosexual white woman. Like, the film was originally like marketed as a film about welfare.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're flashing.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I can't read it. You can read it.
I don't see what it says. Okay.
He said Valentino jumping the combo. Yeah, we can pass back to him.
Yeah, let's get. What are your thoughts on this, Valentino?
Honestly, I think that we can't expect being accepted from the masses or let's just say America without allowing people to practice our activities such as ballroom, as long as it's coming from a genuine place. Let's say like because I feel like nowadays, majority of the times that you see queer activities or like things like ballroom broadcasted, it's from someone outside of ballroom that tried to put a spin on the genuine and the real ballroom itself. So like how you were talking about people from other races being in ballroom. Personally, I disagree with that. I feel like ballroom can be open to people of all races. They, just like you said, need to know their place, because it was started by us. So it should continue to be ran by us, because I feel like if you wasn't there at the beginning, you will never fully understand the overall meaning and the feeling that these people get when they are in ballroom, because it started off as a safe space for queer people that were not accepted, that had like nowhere else to go. So when it is like broadcasted to the world as something that's just like just something that is fun or is cute, even though it is, but that's not just what it is. And
it was a place of survival for
literally
generations of people. It's the place where the AIDS epidemic, where people went to mourn, where people went to grieve, went to process their diagnosis, went to battle for that $50 grand prize just so they could have food to eat for the week. So I do think that the integrity of ballroom has to be maintained by, like you said, people that were there and their descendants being the ones at the forefront and allowing other outside space for people to spectate and compete, but not come in and act like, oh yeah, this is our thing now.
I feel that. And I want to clarify really quick too, because like I said no white people. It was originally created for Black and brown people to have that safe space, just like Marsha and Sylvia. For me, it's really white cis het people. That's what really grinds my gears. And I think that's kind of what you touched base on, with white cis het people coming into the space and thinking, okay, we can take over, we can do X, Y, Z, and seeing
because you have a business degree, you feel like it's your place to come and monetize it.
And I feel like a lot of white cis het women specifically who come in.
You might as well say the name.
No, I'm just saying, come in and they take over, or they try to like be a part of the community, and it's like, girl, So I'm just leave it at that. Though. Go on, continue.
Yeah, I just feel like if you were not there in the beginning, you should.
Nobody that was there in the beginning is still alive.
Okay, to be honest,
the origin of like if you don't look like this, if you have not been in an actual real ballroom setting, where you got the people sweating on the floor, throwing their backs out, like you said, trying to get these grand prizes just to put food on the table, and you have people that are like exploiting their life stories, like the people and trying to monetize those things or get attention from people outside of ballroom. I feel like that's when it becomes a problem, because now it's not for the enrichment of queer people, it's for monetization, or it's just for the attention of America. And I feel like that's where the issue comes in. But if there are people from other races, ethnic backgrounds, or what have you, that try to represent ballroom or practice our culture, then it should be just that. Like, just come to the actual ballrooms. Don't try to put your own spin on it, because it'll always be misrepresented.
Yeah, don't be a student of ballroom from YouTube and then go on an audition in Vogue and say that you are a part of this community. Like, actually participate, at the very least contribute to the community by paying for a ticket, by being in the community and taking up space. But don't think that just because you're white, you're gonna come in and get your chance, because they actually gonna make you go a lot harder.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted.
Yeah. So there's also a follow-up movie that talks about a lot of the original members of the Paris is Burning cast, called How Do I Look? That was shot in 2004 or 5 and came out in, like, I want to say 2006. Just like a follow-up movie if anybody is interested. I actually think that the rest of these questions we should table for next week and do part 2. I think it's very apropos that we have this conversation as we lead into Pride, and specifically, what does Black queer pride look like when, again, outwardly facing, Black queer culture is the prevailing culture in queerdom, but yet cishet white people are often the tastemakers and the change provokers and the people that make the funding decisions and the people that get to decide what stories are told or what acts are going to be performing for Pride. I'm really, really honored and excited about my gay father, Gerald Garth, being the president of LA Pride and bringing more Black culture to the space, because it's really Black queer culture, honestly, that makes the world go round. Like, well, I'll briefly touch on it. Like, I always laugh when I hear cisgender hetero Black people like talk about like reading and shade, and even like the fact that like the #1 distributed and consumed blog in the world is the Shade Room. That was created by a cisgender heterosexual African woman, but the name of your brand specifically comes from unapologetically Black queer space. So to see homophobic or transphobic or misogynistic language in the content or even in the comments is always like y'all are stupid.
It's a slap in the face. It's literally just like, it's like being myself. I feel like people, it becomes a fetish when those people get excited when you present the roles that they expect from you. So just like how people think that all Black gay men are like very, very feminine. Like if someone walks up to me, oh, hey queen, slay queen, like
hate that.
Always
the white girls.
I hate that. And it's just like they always expect that from you. So I feel like platforms like the Shade Room always try to broadcast that, or like they either try to exploit us or try to put us on that stage of being like really feminine, or they try to hypersexualize us.
Well, what you just said actually brought to bring this conversation full circle. When you don't actually understand what a thing is and you bastardize it, or you are culturally appropriating something, you don't understand the cultural relevance or meaning behind it, it's easy for you to misrepresent it, right? Shade is not supposed to be like problematic. Shade is not supposed to be harmful. Shade is not supposed to no, it's not.
It can be.
But it's not supposed to. Shade really, if you know your history, it came from reading, but it was amongst girlfriends.
Yeah, that's true.
It was amongst like people that you were familiar with. It was like supposed to be like a key. But because you have cisgender heteronormative people who come into spaces and think they know everything, they thought that creating a brand called the Shade Room, instilling tea and all these other things that they take from the culture was cute and they thought it meant to be shady. They thought it meant to be nasty, which is why if you really look at the through line in a lot of the media coverage that the Shade Room produces, it is not the healthiest or for the uplifting of Black or queer people, quite frankly. And that's because the intention was set forth in the name that they bastardized.
Okay.
I feel like that makes it harder for us to break out of those, well, in the eyes of people who are not queer, break out of the stereotypes that we are all shady, because they misinterpret what shade actually is. And so when they see us using terms that, of course, we know the genuine meaning to, they always like take a spin on that. And
I'll give you another term. Like in ballroom, fierce is not a compliment. If you say somebody is being fierce, or bitch, that was fierce, that's not a compliment. But because of shows like RuPaul's Drag Race and cisgendered white queers, they think that fierce means, oh, she's fierce. It confuses, it conflates meanings because you're not citing your source or acknowledging where you actually got that term from. So when people come into this space and they say, oh, she's being fierce, and someone looks at you like, bitch, you don't know what you're talking about. Or you come to a ball and say, oh, I love that death drop, but this thing that wasn't a death drop.
Don't even get me started.
It's because you don't know the culture that you're trying to appropriate. We're running out of time. I want Valentino to come back.
Actually, what I was thinking was we're gonna end on we always end our episodes with a what am I trying to say? We always end our episodes with an advice portion. So I'm gonna ask you what's advice portion to give. But what I was thinking was to have an individual, since Valentino, you are part of Gen Z, correct? Okay. I was thinking about having someone who is, maybe like Gen Y. Maybe.
I don't know the generations like that.
General, you can go. We'll talk about it. He's very busy. But he is a busy man. But yeah. So, what advice would you give our viewers, Valentino, who want to get or who want to understand essentially us? And obviously, we can answer as well. Who want to stand us in ballroom and in the Black queer community, but don't know how? Instead of just appropriating or doing what they do to try to fit in with us.
Come to a ball. Stay off of Google. Stay out of the media because they will always misinterpret everything. Unless I feel as though I wouldn't just say like Google, like stay, because it will never be genuine. Come to the people who actually understand, the people that you see in these balls rather than the people that you see portrayed on TV, because all of this is fake and scripted. And I feel like people, especially people out, I'm sorry, was this for people of the queer community who are trying to understand, like, or people outside?
Outside.
So yeah, just come to us, like come to us directly. I feel like the disconnect comes from the media, because everything will always be over exaggerated because it's the media. So you will never really understand to the real extent of what ballroom actually is. And I feel like we would never be able to live those stereotypes down, but what we can do is continue to, advocate for ourselves when we feel as though we aren't being represented properly. Mm-hmm. So as long as we're not using our platform to shut out America, but to present ourselves rather than to gatekeep or to, push the rest of the world away, because initially,
just so you know.
We want acceptance from the world. So I feel as though if we want acceptance from the world, we have to include them in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So they could be, like on the back burner watching. If you want to learn more about ballroom, come to actual ballroom and stay away from the media.
I was trying to make this quick. I will say, for me, in coming into the ballroom, I sat on the sidelines for years. I studied, I waited. It took me a long time to just get up the courage to even walk. So my advice to anybody that wants to celebrate our culture, to echo Valentino, be present, show up. Ballroom is not the place for any entitlement. Mm. It's not the place for any assumptions. It will chew you up and spit you out. Mm-hmm. Have a good time, experience it. Nothing online is going to compare to the real experience of being in the community fellowship that is ballroom. So this episode was not just about ballroom, but ballroom encapsulates a huge part of Black queer culture. But yeah, come support, invest, and if you don't know, shut the fuck up.
Period. And I feel like y'all both said it beautifully. Honestly, just come support and come educate yourself. Period.
Come to a class. There's a ton of classes in LA.
That's true as well. So we will be back next week, 4:30 to 5:30. Valentino, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you
for being on. And we will see y'all next week. It is your duo here, Healthy and Duo, saying bye.
Ta 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 ta.
If you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to Pyromedianetwork's YouTube channel for more awesome content. Plus, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss when we go live or upload new videos. Visit pyromedianetwork.com today, not just to check out our incredible roster of talented creatives, but also to gain access to exclusive bonus material available only to our Pyro fam. Show your support for this Black-owned indie network by donating today. Help us keep igniting brands everywhere.